I've been away on Skaar for a while. I'll tell you all about it. But first, I have someone here that I'd like you all to meet. This is my son, Skaar. Baby!
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy. So Marvel is clearly planning something with the Hulk. They're either teasing a movie,
but we were going to introduce...
Save it for the movie.
Or they're just trolling us. But let's say they're planning a Hulk movie, or a show, or even a special. What story is left to tell with the Hulk? Well, there's only one thing that fans want to see, and that is World War Hulk. Hulk going on a rampage and destroying heroes left and right? Sign me up.
Shut up and take my money.
No doubt it would be awesome, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but the way the MCU is currently being set up, it's going to be tricky to do this story, at least to do it faithfully. That being said, Marvel is putting a lot of pieces in place for their own version of World War Hulk. We got Hawk, She-Hulk, Skaar Abomination, and this guy. I really hope we never have to see him again. Now the leader is coming back for Captain America New World Order, and Harrison Ford is the new Thunderbolt Ross. There's no way they got Harrison Ford if they're not planning to do Red Hulk.
Get off my plane.
So there's a lot of gamma radiated people out there, and they gotta do something with all of them. So we came up with a few ideas for how Marvel can do World War Hulk, and more importantly, how we get Hawk to get so angry that he goes on a world-breaking rampage and unleashed World War Hulk on the MCU.
Hey, do you like this shirt?
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
It's not too blue.
It looks great. Why are you so self-conscious about the shirt today?
Well, I got a high school reunion coming up, and I just want to impress everyone and make them think that I had achieved great things, that I am a pillar of my community.
Well, Doug, if you want to impress them, then get a certificate from Established Titles. They're the sponsor of this video. Established Titles is a fun novelty gift that allows you to purchase 1 square foot of land in Scotland, which makes you a Scottish landowner, and according to Scottish custom, this allows you to have the title of Lord or Lady. Now, my own land is on a private nature reserve in Edelston, and my purchase helps to preserve their woodlands. And that's the really cool thing about this certification. It's not just a novelty gift, it helps protect the woodlands of Scotland. With every order, Established Titles plants trees all over the world through their charity partners One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future. You get this certificate with an official crest and a unique plot number so you can see the exact location of your land. And then you will be allowed to officially change your name to Lord or Lady. It also makes for a terrific last minute gift. I mean, just look at some of these reactions.
Lord Joe Green.
Yes! Lord Kenneth Delane Albert.
All right. Hey, look at that. You will be calling me Lord!
Established Titles is running a massive early Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use our code ScreenCrush, you get an additional 10% off. And the first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot or within walking distance. So depending on how many people want to be a Lord or Lady, we can have our own little ScreenCrush kingdom. So go to establishedtitles.com/ScreenCrush to get your gifts now and help support our channel. Now, what was I saying? All right, before we get to our ideas, first we need to briefly go over the comics version of World War Hulk. After one too many rampages on Earth, the Illuminati decided to shoot Hulk into space. The ship crash landed on Skaar, and Hulk found himself on a hostile alien planet ruled by the Red King. One thing led to another, and Hulk became a gladiator. Hulk then went on Spartacus, led an uprising, and then liberated Skaar from the Red King. Hulk also fell in love with Kyra, and the two of them got married and ruled over Skaar peacefully. That's how Skaar was born in the comics. This should have been Hulk's happily ever after, but as fate had it, the ship that brought Hulk to Skaar blew up, killing millions, including his wife Kyra.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
And that's the ship that the Illuminati originally used to exile Hulk. So naturally, he unleashed World War Hulk on Earth, destroying everyone as he pretty much tried to break the world. As great as this story is, it's going to be near impossible to do a faithful adaptation of World War Hulk. Hulk is in a completely different mental place right now. The only World War Hulking he's going to do is playing video games with his kid. Also, Thor Ragnarok was basically a very loose adaptation of Planet Hulk. So Marvel can't adapt that story again. Not to mention that Hulk already traveled to Skaar and came back with his son, and Skaar seems to be pretty cool with his dad.
But Bruce is supposed to return to explain what he was doing
No, we don't need to hear any of that.
But we were going to introduce...
Save it for the movie.
So that's not how we're getting this World War Hulk. But there are still some ways for a World War Hulk movie to happen. There are actually 2 ways that we want to pitch this. So let's start with the version that is more in line with where the MCU is going with the Hulk right now. And later in the video, we'll present a much darker version of World War Hulk.
It's way too dangerous to get out in the world, even if there's only 1,000,000% chance that it makes another one of us.
Jen became She-Hulk after her blood was mixed with Bruce's. Banner destroyed the blood samples, but then Todd stole Jen's blood and became a Hulk himself. So there is a precedent here with people becoming Hulks with some of that green gamma blood.
It's that green blood of his.
Now that the leader is coming back, I'm pretty sure he's going to get his hands on some Hulk blood. He himself was transformed after being exposed to Hulk's radiated blood. Now, since both Leader and Thunderbolt Ross are in Captain America 4, I predict that they will team up, and that is how we get Red Hulk.
You can either surrender peacefully, or you can resist. Please, resist.
Calling it now. In the post-credit scene for New World Order, Ross injects himself with the Hulk's blood that was synthesized by the Leader, and he becomes Red Hulk. And the comics is filled with all kinds of Hulks, many of them that could appear in the MCU at some point, including Betty Ross, who becomes a Red She-Hulk, Rick Jones, who becomes A-Bomb, and Amadeus Cho became the self-proclaimed totally awesome Hulk. Not to mention all of the different versions of Hulk himself, such as Joe Fixit, Worldbreaker Hulk, Maestro, and the Immortal Hulk. So add all of these Hulks up, and that is how we get the MCU's World War Hulk.
I will remake the world in my image. I will remake you in my image.
Welcome to Gamma World.
Instead of Hulk going on a rampage, it will be other bad Hulks. The only way to defeat so many gamma-radiated monsters is a team of Hulks. So Hulk, She-Hulk, Blonsky, Skaar, and a few others will join forces.
Hulkamania!
And that's really the most MCU way to do this story. Marvel is notorious for adapting popular and beloved comic book stories by simply taking some elements from them and just slapping the comic titles on the movies. But this is somewhat fitting. Banner has always been so afraid that he'd be just one bad day from Hulk breaking the world. And now the Leader makes his worst nightmare come true by unleashing an army of Hulks on the world. So it's a thematic way for Hulk to face his own demons, who are now represented by the bad Hulks. Also, it could always be Skaar who unleashes World War Hulk. Skaar must have some serious trauma. He was born on a hostile planet. His father was a famous champion who just up and vanished one day. His mom is probably dead, so he was left to fend for himself on a really crappy planet. And worst of all, he lived his entire life believing that his haircut was fine. This kid must have some daddy issues.
Ain't like I'm gonna be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, you know? Who needs him?
Of course, your mom is dead, so...
The MCU never addressed this, but Bruce has his own daddy issues. Some really bad things happen in his childhood. His father was an abusive piece of human garbage who killed Bruce's mother. This trauma must be deeply rooted in Bruce. It's directly tied into his anger issues. All of that trauma is going to bubble back to the surface now that he's a father. Bruce will struggle with being a dad to Skaar, fearing that he might turn into his own father. I'm sure that with their anger issues, Smart Hulk and Skaar will eventually end up fighting each other. So it might not be the World War Hulk we deserve, but at least it's something, right? But is it really enough?
No, not really, but when do I ever get what I want?
That's right.
Nah, I need more. We need Hulk to be the one who goes on a rampage. We need Hulk to unleash World War Hulk. And there is one way to make it work, but things need to get very ugly and dark. For Hulk to pass down the torch to Jen or his son or some other Hulk, Banner and Hulk need to arrive to a certain conclusion. Smart Hulk might be that perfect ending, but we didn't get to experience the journey to that ending. Before Endgame, the clash between Banner and Hulk was established in a compelling story. Bruce doesn't want to be Hulk, and Hulk doesn't want to be Banner. But just as we were arriving at the climax of their relationship, Banner just became Smart Hulk off screen.
For years, I've been treating the Hulk like he's some kind of disease, something to get rid of. But then I start looking at him as the cure.
We don't see Bruce overcoming his struggles with Hulk. We don't see these two personas arriving at an understanding, a realization that no matter what, they must share the same body. They can either keep fighting each other and live separate, miserable lives, or they can become something new.
I put the brains and the brawn together, and now look at me.
But since we are told about this instead of seeing it, the culmination feels superficial and anticlimactic.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Here's how Marvel can redeem this story. Smart Hulk claims that he is the best of both versions of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. But what if he isn't telling the whole truth? Bruce might be the only one in the driver's seat, and whatever is left of Hulk is caged in the trunk. Caged forever. It always seemed like Smart Hulk is more Bruce Banner in Hulk's body and less of a combination of these two personas. Even after 15 years of struggling with the Hulk, Banner is still paranoid about the monster inside of him, even now as he's the Smart Hulk. When Jen becomes She-Hulk, he projects all of his fears and traumas onto her. He is so used to being seen as an uncontrollable monster that he can't even imagine that someone else will deal with being a Hulk differently than he did. That's because Bruce has always seen the Hulk as nothing more than a monster.
Where in the world am I not a threat?
Inside of a monster, people start seeing you as a monster.
A curse that he must live with. He always created plans to cage the Hulk. The only time Banner saw Hulk as useful is when it was time to smash some bad guys. Bruce even created a device that would have kept him in human form forever. If it was up to him, he would never Hulk out again, essentially killing the Hulk.
You can't do this. Keeping me trapped in here, you have no right.
Think about it. Hulk and Banner were always presented as separate entities. Bruce was the brains, Hulk was the muscle.
Hulk, always Hulk.
And then Age of Ultron happened and Hulk made his own decision to exile himself into space. Hulk ends up on Skaar, and for the first time in his life, he's fully in control. He becomes a gladiator, a celebrity. On Earth, he was feared, but on Skaar, he's beloved by the people. He even gets to make a baby with somebody.
Smash! Smash! Baby!
For so long, his existence was about battles and rage. He got to be in the driver's seat only when Banner needed him or when he was too angry to maintain control. But now there was much more to his existence than rage. There was life. He was able to grow and evolve as an individual, separate from Banner. Hulk was developing his mind. He learned how to speak, how to express his feelings. Well, actually, that started on Earth with Natasha. What's so interesting here is that when Banner was in control, he was living his life on an edge, fearing to lose control. He got to the point where he tried to take his own life.
I got low. I didn't see an end, so I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out.
But when Hulk took control, for him, it was a party every day. Then Thor shows up, and before Hulk knows it, Banner takes over. Next time Hulk gets to be in control, he's on Asgard, forced to be the Rage Machine once again, giving this scene a whole new tragic meaning.
No, Banner!
And then Hulk loses horribly to Thanos, getting destroyed for the first time in his life. So can anyone blame Hulk for not wanting to come out and be used by Banner anymore? And speaking of, the fact that Hulk was able to say no proved that he had developed agency separate from Banner. For all we know, Hulk's growing intelligence and agency is the very thing that drove Bruce to creating Smart Hulk. He was so afraid that if Hulk got too smart and independent, he might take control completely, which has always been Banner's worst nightmare. Drastic times call for drastic measures, and Banner decided to suppress the Hulk forever. Bruce didn't combine his mind with the Hulk, he locked the monster in a mental cage and threw away the key. You can't cage Hulk forever. While Hulk was trapped inside, he kept getting smarter and much angrier. This is how he could become Maestro or even the Immortal Hulk.
You know, sometimes when you cage the beast gets angry.
Something is going to bring the monster back out, something that will allow him to unleash his world-breaking rage. Now, I used to think that it was the blip. Remember, after the snap, Thanos saw Gamora in Soul World. Something similar happened to Tony in a deleted scene from Endgame. So Smart Hulk must have seen someone in Soul World as well. But it's becoming pretty clear that Marvel isn't planning to explore the snap and the blip that much. Speaking of, we actually have a video coming up about that very topic. There is something else that will unleash the Hulk, and that is Skaar. Let's not forget, Skaar is Hulk's son, not Banner's son. Well, technically I guess they're both the father, but Hulk was the one who did the deed and not Banner. Remember this?
I can't have this. Kids, do the math, I physically can't.
So now Hulk must fume in his prison, watching as Banner steals his son away from him.
Don't you see how I treat that kid? I treat that kid like he's my son.
He ain't your son, he's my son.
He's what?
He's my son.
This will be the inciting event that will unleash Hulk on the world. The thing is that he can't Hulk out and take his rage out on Banner. When Hulk is in control, Banner is in the back seat. He doesn't exist in the physical world anymore. But he doesn't need to beat up Banner, he just needs to lock him inside that same mental cage. But once he takes control, he will be filled with so much rage that the only way for him to take it out is to go on a world-breaking rampage.
I am talking scorched earth
Baby arms.
I will massacre you. I will
Smash
you up.
So now, others must stop him, like Jen, Skaar, Blonsky, and maybe even Red Hulk. I don't foresee the Avengers assembling against Hulk since many of them are already going to be busy, but we can definitely see some heroes show up to stop him. I mean, it's way past time we get a proper Hulk vs. Thor rematch, and this time, they need to go all out. And if not Thor, how about finally introducing the Sentry? He had a huge role in the comics, and he's really one of the only superheroes around that could match the world-breaking Hulk. But in the end, the thing that stops the rampage won't be the fighting, it'll be the people that Hulk and Banner love, like Jen and Betty and Skaar.
You don't turn your back on family.
Banner and Hulk will finally confront each other, mentally at least. Realizing that they can no longer do this tug of war for control of the mind and body, they'll find a way to work things out. And this is where smart Hulk would make the most sense, but since that already happened, we need a different outcome. The best solution could be a separation. Either with science or magic, Hulk and Banner will be separated, divorced, becoming two autonomous beings no longer sharing the same body. This way, someone else can become the new Hulk, and Banner could finally get his happily ever after and arrive to an ending in his MCU story. Something like that sort of happened in the comics, where Amadeus Cho absorbed the Hulk and became the new green guy, freeing Banner from the Hulk persona. Amadeus Cho was teased in Age of Ultron, actually. Helen Cho is his mother. Or maybe no one becomes the new Hulk, and instead Hulk will get to be his own person. I mean, somebody should just call Wanda. She could probably make it happen literally with a snap of her fingers.
Black Bolt could destroy you with one whisper from his mouth.
What mouth?
Actually, maybe it's best if no one calls Wanda. She might get some ideas. So that's the two ways the MCU could do World War Hulk, although there's always door number 3, which is a what if. The nature of the animated show really is the best way to explore a comic book accurate World War Hulk story. In fact, we have our own what if idea for World War Hulk, so stay tuned and subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. So now it's your turn. What do you think about our World War Hulk ideas? Do you think the MCU will ever do it, and how do you think the story should happen? Let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.